So the new album's coming out, I think, just about around the corner, called Cryptoriana, from the words crypt and Victoriana. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the album you mentioned was very much influenced by the Victorian horror stories that you read when the band started to make this album. So, how about the musical influences? How do you think the influences musically have shown through?
Well, it's hard to say, really. We convened in Brno in the Czech Republic to collate our ideas for a week and a half prior to a festival in Slovakia. Brno's where Martin and Ashok, the drummer, and one of the guitarists respectively live. And we went there as a kind of team building exercise, and as I said, to collate ideas. And it was only due to the proliferance, to the amount of work that people had done before going there, that we actually came away with about 80% of the album written. People had written whole songs or parts of songs or individual riffs. And so that we actually had more done than we thought. And it was a very productive time. And so I can only go on what was presented, that people, we had been working on material they thought was one step forward from the previous album, Hammer of the Witches. And obviously we toured that extensively and been playing quite a smorgasbord of different material from every facet of Cradle of Filth's existence, and primarily quite a lot of early stuff. So maybe that's what shone through. But there was no definitive plan. It was more an organic, more of an organic process. Just the fact that everybody delivered what they thought they would contribute to the record, and we looked through it and decided what worked and what didn't. And henceforth the album came out. There were a couple of tracks that were left over from the previous album session that were not quite developed enough at that time, that we further developed for this record as well.
Okay. So the stories again seem on the album, like mentioned, it was about the Victorian horror, but from my perspective, it's not a concept album as such, but practically like all of your music before, the strong storytelling vibe goes through all of it. So can you talk us through the stories on what the songs were about?
Well, it would probably take a bit too long to do that. Heartbreak and Seance. Well, the first song is like an introductory song, so it's the gateway to the album. Heartbreak and Seance is a sort of story of two lovers who've been separated by a great war. And in death, he watches her from beyond the grave, and he yearns to return to her, while she attempts to contact him through spiritualism and Ouija board and planchette and etc., etc. And he can, grown over lonely, he can only watch as she falters from afar and spirals towards suicide, and then they're together again. It's a sort of quintessential ideology of a Victorian ghost story, really. Same with Achingly Beautiful and Night at Catafalque Manor. They were influenced by, as much of the album was, the stories of E.F. Benson, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Oscar Wilde, Arthur Machen, Algernon Blackwood, Robert Louis Stevenson, Rider Haggard. And these both actually Achingly Beautiful and Night at Catafalque Manor, which is actually a bonus track, can actually be put side by side if need be. They were written together, but they can work separately. In fact, Night at Catafalque Manor is a precursor to Achingly Beautiful. Both songs concern themselves with a nocturnal guest who travels through an awe-inspiring sort of storm to a great masked ball, where in his cruel libertine nature he attends for sort of sexual, merciless sport. But instead he finds the woman of his dreams, and they seduce each other, and he finds in her his a mortal equal. So again, another uh, another story of like high gothic melodrama. West of Vespertine is literally a song about looking forward to approaching nightfall. It's a song about the evening. That's what Vespertine. The word indicates anything relating to or occurring in the evening, and to Wester is to move toward the west. So, in that capacity, it's just it's a track about nightfall, but it's set in as with all the other tracks, in a Victorian setting. Could be London, as the Seductiveness of Decay is set in London. And that track's really about the lure of the rotten underbelly of this great city, which is masked by a fine veneer of respectability and morality, which, to be honest, most of the Victorian era was. And it's about romance of the macabre. It name checks, lots of things from Jack the Ripper through to Sweeney Todd to Penny Dreadfuls to the Empire itself. It's a very evocative song. It's about morbid attraction to spiritualism, freak shows, asylums, industrialism striding from the banks of squalor, and everything. All this majesty and pomp and the biggest empire the world's ever seen, garbed in like a dark funerality. When Queen Victoria lost Albert, her husband, she took to wearing black clothes, and it became a fashion statement at the time. So I think the line, "The necropolis built on top of this is an empire fit for Gauls," sums that song up. Vengeful Spirit features the voice of Liv Christine, who formerly sung on our track Nymphetamine Fix. And in this song, she plays a completely different character to that she played in Amphetamine. Because it's another love story, but it's really drenched in blood. It's about a woman betrayed who commits suicide, but she returns from purgatory as this vengeful spirit who torments those who wronged her in life, which in the case of this song is me. And so I play that part and she plays the protagonist, and so we sort of feature as a cruel duet. You will know the line by The Claw was inspired by the works of Rider Haggard, who's a Victorian author who lived close to where I live now in England, from where I'm talking to you. One sec. Yeah. This is a bit complicated. I mean, it's basically a "Don't Tread on Me" song. Okay. But it uses the railroad annexation of the Transvaal in South Africa to paint a vision of the greedy machinations of man coming up against a really pissed off, furious, displaced natural foe. That I say as a metaphor for the downtrodden. The actual title was made famous by some guy, I can't remember his name, who said something about Isaac Newton, who submitted a solution to a problem that was supposedly unsolvable, and he did it overnight. In fact, he solved 2 problems overnight. And so basically it literally meant, well, if you don't want him to solve it, don't give it to him. You will know the lion by his claw. Death and the Maiden. This is Victorians had a big fascination with the Gothic literature revival, and none more potent really than the stories, darker stories of mythology. And so Death and the Maiden is essentially about the first living visitor to the underworld, though an unwilling one, of course, which was the goddess Persephone, who was the daughter of Zeus and Demeter. Everybody knows this story. She was an innocent maiden who was playing in the eternal fields, and Hades saw her, fell in love with her, and came and stole her away and turned her into the goddess of the underworld by Zeus and Demeter pleaded for her return. And then there was the whole thing about if she'd eaten anything when she was in the underworld, and they said yes, she'd eaten 4 pomegranate seeds, sometimes 4, sometimes 6, but 4 makes more sense because that basically spelled out her time in the underworld as being equivalent to winter. So when mankind enters the winter period, it's because the goddess of fertility and has descended to the underworld, or so it went.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's it.
Yeah.
We also
great. That was long. Great stories, though. There's a lot of.
There's another track on the special edition, which is a cover of
Annihilator. Alison.
Exactly, Alison as well.
Yeah. So speaking of that, you've done cover versions before. What is your approach when doing a classic song like this that people remember from the 80s? Do you try to put your own stamp to it, or do it as close to the original, or what is your approach to doing a song like that? Generally.
Well, before this, most of the other covers we've done have been very non-metal tracks that we've bastardized and cradleized and turned into metal songs. But with this and Hallowed Be Thy Name and the various metal tracks we've done, we try and play as close to the original as possible.
Yeah.
In fact, this one, aside from a few keyboard parts and perhaps a changed drum beat somewhere, just at the end, I think the last 4 bars, it just speeds up. It does near as damn it to the original as possible. And since its recording, we played it to Jeff Waters, who obviously wrote the song, and he loved it. He put on his website that he thought it was the best cover anybody had done of an Annihilator track, which is cool, because we loved the song and we just wanted to replicate it. I mean, it came out in 86, I think, or 87. So, it's a good 30 years old. And we've been wanting to cover it for ages. And one of the reasons being that it was until about now we realised we could play it properly, and it fitted very well with the rest of the album, because it's very ornate and spooky, and it's got a creepy vibe to it, and it's melodic, blah blah blah. And also the fact that we bumped into Jeff Waters on a couple of occasions and had mentioned to him that it was our wish to cover the track, and he basically said, yeah, you really could do it. I think Cradle would do a really good job. So that was another reason for attempting it on this record.
Yeah. So this is actually, I think, your 12th studio album altogether. In your opinion, what has changed in the band, grown and evolved from your point of view throughout these 12 records?
It's hard to say, really. I'm too close to it. Obviously, different lineup, but we've arrived at a very good lineup, and it's a journey. And I've enjoyed every single album we've done, every single lineup we've had. We've got a very strong lineup at the present. People are really into what we're doing. It's a bit of a renaissance for the band. We've had a very illustrious career, and I don't look upon it, these sort of questions I don't really understand, because, it's like asking someone, well, can you just talk me through your life? Tell me the highs and lows. And you just go, well, it's impossible. It's an ever-evolving thing. When this interview's done, it will still be going.
And there seem to be a same essence, even though there's been lineup changes and obviously different musical spares and aspects.
People come and go in all walks of life. If you're working in a magazine or for a radio station or, TV station, people change their profession. People want, think they could do it better elsewhere. Some people just want to retire because they don't like it. As in the case of a band, sometimes people feel that it's too much hard work. They don't like being away from home for long periods of time, etc., etc., etc.
And you obviously have the side project or another band or whichever you call it with Devilment, so that probably also keeps you from not getting bored at all with the Cradle of Filth. It keeps it exciting, or am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's I've had people level question, things at me about, it's taken away from the essence of Cradle of Filth, and it's actually completely the opposite. In fact, it's helping. with Cradle of Filth because it does give me another outlet for what I want to do. Stuff that I can't do with Cradle of Filth or would just be shunned. And if people look and say, oh, the last two Cradle of Filth records are, real return to form, they're really strong, I really like. Well, if you look at the history of Devilment, it literally falls in with those two albums. So, yeah, it's a very good pressure valve that gets released. And, keeps, as you say, keeps things fresh.
Yeah, true. Also, you play a lot with sex and with romance of sorts in your music, also deathcore and dark arts, but you at the same time seem to have a tad of playfulness in it. Even in the gruesome moments there seems to be some sort of humor involved as well. So how seriously do you take these themes, and how do they reflect your own ideology? And
I don't think there's any humor in any of the lyrics or anything. It might be humorous as a band, but that's just our characters. I certainly don't write humour into any of the lyricism. Utterly take it seriously. My life, I've grown up studying the occult, being into horror movies, living in an area of England that's renowned for supernatural and witchcraft. I lived in a house that was frequented by the Witchfinder General back in, was it the 17th century? Was it the 18th century? It must have been the 17th century.
Yeah.
It's part and parcel of our life, and that's why I think we do it very well, because, this is what we're into. I'm not saying just because I'm really into the occult and reading constantly about it that I'm a Satanist or anything like that. And I think people would, I think people who look at our band realise that we're very different from a lot of other extreme. I don't say black metal bands, because as soon as you mention that, people start going, oh, they're not a black metal, they are a black metal band. It's like, fuck off. There's no point in any of this labelling people anymore, because there are hardly any fucking record shops to go in and look under labels. So, yeah, it's just a better accolade for a band like ours to just be known solely as Cradle of Filth, really, and then people can make their own minds up if we're heavy funk or reggae or whatever they want to fucking call us. Yeah,
I thought it was funny because in some large, I don't think, maybe a Facebook with the black metal fan page, there was actually a guideline, don't talk about Cradle of Filth or Dimmu Borgir, because
and I thought ironically, both bands actually built the scene to let these other bands fucking have those comments, which is ironic, really.
I thought it was funny, having, you can't talk about certain bands in a discussion.
Yeah, well, that is shit. For the whole maxim was do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and freedom of expression, etc., etc. And yet they're literally like fucking neo-Nazis when it comes to music. It's pathetic.
So what do you think about the black metal movement? Do you follow it today?
What black metal movement?
Yeah.
I've never understood this, I've been involved in it, and I've known most of the major players in it, and not one, apart from a few idiots, really, have ever, I just don't get it, to be honest. What do they think? You're a band of fucking... I know there was like this Polish neo-Nazi thing going on, but again, that's fucking just fucking ridiculous.
Okay.
Music is music, and it's a very powerful weapon, and you utilize that, obviously. But the reason I'm so not bitter about it is just that we've never been part of that. Even when we were touring with Dissection and Emperor and played with Impaled Nazarene and Rotting Christ and all the original bands, there wasn't really a scene as such. It was universal. And being from England as well, I mean, where we invented black metal, with Venom and with Black Widow and Witchfinder General and all these other bands, but obviously Black Sabbath from the very off. We never felt like we were connected to anybody, because we were like one of the few bands that were actually doing anything like we were doing. But even so, we've always been friends with Emperor. Like I say, we tour with Dissection a lot. Play with Dimmu. Obviously, I had a band going with King from Gorgoroth and Godsea, and I've known a lot of people from a lot of things, and it's never been discussed as such as this, masterminded fucking black metal movement.
Yeah. People love to put labels on everything and anything, It's like you put something in some box and there it is, and you cannot get out. So with this band and this lineup that you have right now, what do you think are the strengths of it? What separates the band from say anything else? And what do you think are the weaknesses, threats, and what would you change anything if you could?
No. Well, I'd obviously change how much you get paid.
Right.
Yeah, I think anybody would rather get paid a lot more money. Thing is, money is only the root of all evil when you haven't got any.
True.
No, I wouldn't change anything. This is the whole point.
Yeah.
The band is very strong. We make our own choices. We built this album. We do our own videos. There's a very strong work ethic in the band, a very strong identity about what we want to achieve, how we want to present ourselves, how the videos, how the artwork's going to look, etc., how the live show's going to be. We're about to embark on a world tour.
Right.
So we're gearing up toward that. So yeah. So we can change things every day. Every day completely busy. So it's an ongoing process. It's not like it's set in stone. Yeah, you mentioned the long tour which is ahead, which is actually coming to Finland as well in March, I think. You're playing with Moonspell, but not in Finland. They are coming to their own gig. So what can we expect from the tour? And is it hard, or obviously it must be hard to put together a set list with 12 albums? So. Well, obviously, yeah. Well, we're going to be playing an eclectic mix of old, new, fan favourites, our favourites, stuff that we probably haven't played before. I think we're actually looking at 2 or 3 sets so that we can,
okay,
we can manoeuvre things about. But yeah, we're working on that now. Since finishing the album off, I've been totally busy with, like I say, video and the artwork and getting the booklet together and the merchandise and 300 plus interviews, and it's now the album's going to be released on Friday. That should clear some time now so that we can, because we've got our first show at Loud Park in Japan in
October.
In October, yeah. So about just over a month away. So
yeah.
Now we're starting to turn our attention toward that.
Yeah. Do you plan to play the most of the new album, or will you pick just some highlights of it for the
we'll be playing some tracks. I'm not playing all of it. Obviously, I went to see Maiden, and I got as pissed off as everybody did when they played most of their new album. I want to hear, everything.
Yeah, that's true. So, okay, I think we are about to run out of time, but any last greetings for your fans in Finland?
Yeah, well, thank you for all the support. Can't wait to get back over there and play some shows. Obviously, the album comes out on the 22nd. The new lyric video for Achingly Beautiful has just come up now. And firstly, I'd say buy the special edition because it's got 2 extra tracks on it and extended artwork. People say they can't find it in shops, well then just go to Amazon. Amazon have it. You can pre-order it, it'll be with you on the day of release. And also for any more information about anything about Cradle of Filth, because it's constantly being updated and new things are happening, etc. We're going to be announcing summer festivals as well. So best place to check up on anything Cradle of Filth is the Facebook page, obviously, because that's the one that's most prolifically updated from day to day.